Your credit score can make a huge difference when you're trying to buy something like a house or a car, but what happens when your score isn't up to snuff? Cambi Brown live this morning at the Consumer Credit Counseling Service, where credit counselors are taking your questions about that this morning. Cambi.
Hey, good morning, John. Though I'm not sure if it's a good morning when we're talking credit score this early in the morning. First, really quick, Katie, let's go over some quick tips on how people can improve their credit score.
Just a couple quick things. The first thing you want to do is take a step backwards and actually start using a budget, something we call a budget. You know, do you even know what you're spending every month? Do you know what's going out? Do you know what's coming in? The best way to improve your credit is to take a look at your expenses, how you're using credit, and then start paying your bills on time as agreed. If you don't do that, if you don't have a system in place, you're never going to get anywhere with that. So that's the first thing we want to do, is take a step back, start budgeting.
Okay.
So.
And we already have a lot of questions on our Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now Facebook page. If you are not a friend of us already, go on there, like us, and post your questions for Katie. So let's get right to it, answering our viewers' questions.
Okay. We have a question from Dennis. He says, if you had a bill go into collection, but it's actually paid, how do you get it off your credit report? Well, unfortunately, Dennis, you can't get it off your credit report. The good thing is that once it's paid, it does start, your credit immediately starts improving, because the farther that moves into the past, the better your credit score gets. Unfortunately, it's going to be on there 7 years from the date of last delinquency. There is no legitimate way to get that removed. Again, the good thing, though, is now that you've paid it, it moves further and further into the past and becomes less significant with each passing day.
Okay. And some more questions that we have here?
Well, kind of as an addendum to that, I'd like to mention there's no legitimate way to get it off. I want to warn people about credit repair. There are a lot of companies out there that will promise you for $500, $2,000, however much, that they can remove these things from your credit report. It can't be done. There's no legitimate way to do that. If you did it, you accrued the debt, somehow didn't pay it, it's there, and it's going to be there for 7 years. So just don't pay anyone. Use that money that you have and pay off another credit card instead of paying someone to fix your credit.
Okay, if you guys have questions this morning about your credit score, about different credit cards that you might have, go on our Eyewitness News Facebook page, post those questions on there, and Katie will be answering those. And if we don't get a chance to get to all of your questions, they will go on later and answer those on the Facebook page as well. So make sure you like us as a friend on Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on our Facebook page, and ask these questions, because this is valuable advice that you're getting for free this morning. John?
Absolutely, Cambi. Thank you very much.
Brown. Cambi Brown is live this morning at Consumer Credit Counseling Service, where credit counselors are taking your questions. So you ask Cambi Brown, really, because she's going to relay the question, if you will. Right, Cambi?
Yeah, because you definitely don't want to ask me for this. I've actually been asking them a bunch of questions during the breaks. So they've been helping me out this morning. First, let's talk about credit cards. We have all these credit cards cut up in this Coke bottle over here. And people have the assumption that credit cards are really not the best thing, and that's not necessarily true, right?
No, even though credit can be scary because you can get yourself into some bad situations, it's definitely not a bad thing. Credit is an excellent thing, and credit cards are very important when you're building good credit.
Okay, and when you're applying for the cards, that's where you can kind of run into some problems.
Yes, definitely. You want to be careful not to apply for too many credit cards at once, especially if you're getting denied, because you're building up a lot of inquiries on your credit report, which can actually lower your score.
Okay.
And we actually had a question today from Lily, and she's 19 years old, and she's trying to build credit, and she was talking about applying for credit cards and getting rejected, and she wants to know how to build credit. So it is hard when you're young to build credit up when you don't have any credit. But the first thing I would suggest is to stop applying for credit cards, because those inquiries building up on your credit report will hurt you. So the first thing that I would suggest is to actually try to build a relationship with a bank, get a checking account, and then try to get a secured credit card. And that's actually where you put money down so there is collateral. It's a lot easier for people who don't have credit or have bad credit to get a secured credit card.
Is it easier to get a credit card through the bank or through a store?
Definitely easier to get through a bank, especially if you already have a relationship with them, like have a checking account.
Okay. And let's do one last question here really quick.
Stephanie asked, after 7 years, your credit report is supposed to improve and all debts are supposed to fall off. How true is this really? And after that period of time, is it wise to apply for credit cards or car loans? Yes, things do fall off your credit card as time goes on, and if you pay things off as time moves on, your credit score will improve, but it is very important to try to always be building the credit by using your credit cards responsibly. If things are not falling off your credit report, you can write to them and say, hey, this has been on for 7 years. It's time to take it off.
Okay. All right, guys, and we're taking these questions off of our Facebook page, Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now. Go on there, post your questions. They're answering them this morning. If we don't get a chance to get to them, they're actually going to go back on there and answer those questions for you. So you're guaranteed to get a response there this morning. If you have any questions pertaining to credit, you want to ask about your credit card, your credit score, any of those questions, go ahead and post those on that Facebook page, and we'll get those questions answered for you. Guys?
All right, very interesting stuff. I feel like I'm learning so much this morning with Cambi there. Thanks, Cambi.
Cambi Brown's live this morning at the Consumer Credit Counseling Service, where credit counselors are taking your questions about the subject this morning. Cambi.
Yeah, that's right. We've asked on our Facebook page if you have a question about credit cards or credit scores to go on there on our Eyewitness News Facebook page and ask your questions, and we're taking them live on the air this morning. I should let you know, too, that this is I should let you know that I'm going to make a lot of noise by moving my legs. Sorry about that. But Consumer Credit Counseling Services is actually a nonprofit here, and they are here to help Kern County residents with questions that they have about this. So after the segment, if you need more questions, if you need more help, you can go on the Facebook page as well, but also you can give them a call. So let's go through this. Okay. The first person, Zoe, says, after a bankruptcy, how long do you have to wait to be able to get a loan for a house? And what is the lowest credit score to be able to qualify? What types of home loans are available after a bankruptcy?
Okay, first let's talk about bankruptcy a little bit. Bankruptcy is where you get your debts discharged. In other words, it's a fresh start for you to be able to get out from under some of the things that are weighing you down and start over. Buying a home after bankruptcy is certainly possible. A general rule of thumb, I would say, is about 2 years. Okay, and it may be different for some people, but at about 2 years, you're going to be looking at getting better interest rates. Credit's not as easily available as it used to be. You used to be able to get a mortgage loan right after bankruptcy. However, the interest rate that you would pay is exorbitant. So we recommend people wait about 2 years. You want to make sure you can really afford a home. Look at what happened to a lot of people over the last several years. Those years after bankruptcy is a really good time to start budgeting, set aside what would be a mortgage payment, do that for 2 years and see if you can really do that.
Okay.
As far as what's the lowest credit score, it's really hard to say.
It'll depend on the different person, right?
On the different types of loan products available, maybe around 640 to 660. However, you're not going to get the best rates there. Anything above probably 720 to 740, you're going to get better rates and be able to get the best products that are out there. So it really just depends.
Okay. And we're going to get to some more questions. Jose's been asking about a mortgage loan, and Kay is asking about her credit score. We're going to get to those questions coming up. Also, Consumer Credit Counseling Services will answer the questions on the Facebook page as well. So that'll help people out if we don't have time to get to your question. They want to make sure that they get your question answered. So they'll be there to help you out on our Facebook page. So make sure you go to that Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now on Facebook. Like us as a friend, and then ask us your credit questions, and Consumer Credit Counseling Services will get those answered for you. John?
All right, can't be serious topic so early in the morning. Thank you very much.
Cambi Brown is live this morning at Consumer Credit Counseling Service, where credit counselors are taking your questions, and we've had some pretty interesting questions that I think we all might have out there. Cambi?
Yeah, I'm surprised by how many people have questions about this. I'm not sure if this is like the most fun topic in the morning, like, hey, as you're having your breakfast and coffee this morning, let's talk about your credit score. But we're doing it this morning, and let's get right into it. Jose asked, when applying for a mortgage loan, do banks get your average credit score from all of the 3 credit bureaus?
Technically speaking, mathematically it's not an average, but they do look at all 3 credit scores. And generally what they do is they'll take the middle score from the 3 credit bureaus. So they don't necessarily average them, but they will take the middle one. If there's 2 applicants, they'll generally look at the middle score from each applicant and take the higher of that one.
Okay, and Kay asked, how do you update your current information? For example, an increase in yearly income on the 3 credit reports. The information there is from several years ago. It makes it look like our income/debt ratio is way off, and it appears that they only consider one person rather than household income on their reports.
Okay, there's a big misconception out there that your credit report actually includes your income. It does not. So your credit report only has your debt information, the balances you owe, whom you owe, how much you owe, what your monthly payment is. So only your debts are on there. It looks like what she might be talking about is when you apply for a loan, you actually have to state your income, and that's how that gets updated, and then creditors can look at that income versus the debt ratio that's on your credit report. So, so again, your income is not included in the information on your credit report.
How important is your income to debt ratio?
It's very important. That's one of those risk factors that creditors look at when they're trying to evaluate whether or not to give you credit.
Give us an idea of what a good income to debt ratio is.
It depends on what type. Like for a mortgage loan, we try to encourage people to stay below 30% of their income and use that on a mortgage loan. So, you know, it depends on what type of credit that you're looking at on your credit cards as far as carrying balances, as far as your ratio of total debt to what you're using. Try to use less than 50% of that. So a lot of good questions, and again, we'll be updating answers and trying to get more information on the Facebook page for people so they can go and look at that.
Okay, perfect. So if you're watching right now, this is our last segment, but they're still going to be taking your questions on our Eyewitness News Bakersfield Now Facebook page. Consumer Credit Counseling Services is actually a nonprofit, so if you don't want to go on Facebook and ask your questions, if you have a real specific question, you can always give them a call. Let's put some information on the screen so you can see their phone number there. Give them a call if you have a more specific question and you don't want to put it on Facebook where everyone can see. Make sure that you remember that everyone can see that. So you don't want to give too much detailed information or specific information on there. But if you do have a question about credit cards or your credit score, go on our Facebook page still and post those questions, and they'll be periodically checking that throughout the day to make sure that they get your questions answered. Guys?